Talk about a day at the office. The Wrightsville Beach Coast Guard is about to take us out on one of their daily patrols where they say anything can happen. If you wanted to bowl with Nick Carter, you may have missed your chance, but if you still feel strongly about the cause, you can always donate at rockersunited.org. From Hollywood, I'm Perry Elyaderani, ABC 7 Eyewitness News. Despite all the drilling and the filing, Patriot is feeling better. I know because I heard it straight from the horse's mouth. In Sarasota County, I'm Perry Elyaderani, SNN, the Suncoast News Network.
North Carolina is especially important in the national sphere. We already talked about the electoral votes. I mean, 15, that's not a small count. But also adding on to that, it's a swing state, so both parties are going to be fighting over it. What's really important, though, as we were discussing a little bit earlier, is that Supreme Court justice vote.
As a non-citizen myself, it's scary to not know what's next for me, what's next for my family, what's next for so many of my friends and my peers and my loved ones.
Like cops in many other counties, officers in Bradenton are starting to carry Narcan standard in their police cruisers, hopefully stopping more overdoses from becoming fatalities.
You may not be looking forward to your next dentist appointment. That's certainly the case for Patriot, although he's a 1,200-pound horse. SNN's Perry Elyaderani has this story.
Why does this horse have a long face? It might have something to do with his dentist appointment coming up. It's been a year since Patriot had his last checkup, and his veterinarian, Dr. John Bivens, says horses can have a lot to worry about.
I have to be honest, some of them I have felt so sorry for, because I open their mouth and I look in there and say, this has been going on for a long time. This horse has been miserable for, up years.
Horse teeth grow in a delicate balance between their upper and lower jaw. If that balance is upset, it can hurt. In this picture's case, the tongue was split open. In another,
it got to the point when this horse would chew, the lower tooth was going up into his skull.
Bivens hopes that's not the case here. After calming Patriot with a sedative and giving him a slightly bigger mouthwash than we're used to, Bivens found some problems.
This lower tooth here was a little too tall, and this top tooth was a little too short.
Bivens says that's not bad for a horse checkup. After some work with dental tools the size of your arm, the procedure is over and any tooth pain gone.
It's an immediate relief for the horse, and it makes me feel like I've really helped them.
Patriot's friends are happy to be gentle with him as the sedative fades. And like any dentist with a good patient, Bivens is proud.
Yeah, he has very nice teeth. He does.
Despite all the drilling and the filing, Patriot is feeling better. I know because I heard it straight from the horse's mouth. In Sarasota County, I'm Perry Elyaderani, SNN, the Suncoast News Network. As a personal trainer who spends his entire week in the gym, David Green might be seen as one of the healthiest 50-year-olds you'll meet. But after coming back from a cruise with his wife in Mexico last year, he felt something in his stomach and doubled over in pain.
It became so bad I had to go to the hospital, I had to go to the emergency room. They did a CT scan on me and said, we have to do emergency exploratory surgery. You've got a perforated colon, and we got to go in and find the hole and repair it.
Green had diverticulitis, a painful condition where infected or inflamed pockets form in your colon and can cause severe damage. Like many Americans, Green had been dealing with some stomach pain for years, but he dismissed it as normal.
I couldn't have imagined that it would turn into something so severe. What I thought was just a regular stomach ache a couple of times a month literally became life-threatening.
Green says he thinks a lot of other people dealing with stomach pain might be dealing with the same issue and are running a risk every day it goes undiagnosed.
If I'd have known it sooner, I could have received medication, I could have changed my diet, I could have changed some of my habits to prevent my colon from rupturing like it did.
So what can you do to make sure that you're staying safe? Green says it may be as simple as just paying attention to what you're putting in your shopping basket.
My doctor told me after my surgery, he said, David, too much red meat and too much Red Bull. I would have never thought that Red Bull was bad for me.
But by making some diet changes, he says he's feeling much better these days and continues to do the same for others. In Sarasota, I'm Perry Elyaderani, SNN, the Suncoast News Network.
It is much more anonymous in the standard way of purchasing drugs.
As the founder of his own cybersecurity company, Douglas Logan knows a lot about dark web marketplaces and what you can find there.
Fake IDs, fake passports, There are sites that say that they're actually hitman service.
Among the illegal purchasing options, Logan tells me there's a host of vendors for opioids, all sent to the buyer's home through standard U.S. mail, right under the noses of law enforcement.
That's much more difficult to tell the difference between something that's being mailed to them that's a normal package, or whether it's something that's actually malicious with illicit goods inside of it.
And it doesn't take much tech skill to get to these sites once virtual currency is bought.
It's something that, my mother or my grandmother could figure out how to do with a little bit of Googling.
To test how long it would take for someone with no knowledge, me, to get onto the dark web, we're gonna time it, starting now. After downloading some software, a couple of internet searches, and filling out new account quizzes, I was there. And stop. Less than 9 minutes, and I was in a position to buy fentanyl in bulk with a host of other drugs and sellers to choose from. Logan says sites like this are often taken down.
Once they figure out the owner, they're able to actually do research and close down the site. So your regular police work is effective in this. It does take a lot of time.
And it's that time that's the problem. Alphabay, a large dark web marketplace shut down in July, was making sales for 5 years.
I assure you, from year number one, law enforcement has been trying to figure out who owns that place to shut it down because it has such a significant impact, and yet it still took them 5 years to do.
But Logan says shutting down marketplaces is just a temporary solution.
The real answer is going to be when the real problem is addressed, associated with what's causing people to seek out these sites. Why is it that the drug problem has gotten so much worse?
A good question that Logan is still trying to answer. In Sarasota, I'm Perry Elyaderani, SNN, the Suncoast News Network.
Oops, come on.
Meet Wilbur, one of the many dogs sheltered here at Cleveland's Animal Protective League. Like many of his friends, Wilbur was rescued from an abusive household, where Cleveland's APL suspects he was kicked by his owner, suffering permanent damage to his ribs and causing him to walk with a limp. A crime now in most states, but not one that could be tracked on a national level. In a time where there seems to be data on everything, Sharon Harvey, president of Cleveland's APL and Wilbur's owner, says there's no national record for animal abuse cases.
It's been a critical missing piece in the reporting of significant crime in this country to exclude crimes against animals.
That was until today. Ohio Voters for Companion Animals sent out a press release this morning saying that the FBI will now include animal abuse more prominently in its uniform crime report. This means that abuse-related crimes will now be nationally tracked by police. Harvey says this is a big deal.
What we know and what the FBI has acknowledged is that often violence against animals predicts violence against people, predicts domestic violence. So this is giving us more information in our toolbox, not only to protect animals, but also to protect people.
The FBI will also begin to recognize animal abuse as a Group A offense, the same category as arson, assault, and homicide. While this association doesn't translate into criminal charges, Harvey says it's the idea that counts.
By an agency like the FBI to have recognition of the importance of these crimes and punishing the offenders and potentially being able to do something more to prevent them is just, it was a pretty good day to hear that passed.
And a good day for dogs like Wilbur, who will benefit from more precise aid from organizations like Cleveland's APL in the near future. Perry Elyaderani, Cleveland 19. When Doc Worland arrived in Sarasota with his wife Eloise, they had high hopes, but it wasn't meant to be.
We came here to be part of the community, and unfortunately Eloise died so quickly of cancer that she really couldn't fulfill all of her ambitions, and I've tried to take up where she left off.
Eager to honor his late wife, Worland got to work.
She asked me if we could dedicate a bench in her memory, and I felt that this was such a wonderful person that we could do far beyond a bench.
That's when Worland contacted the city manager and found this park under the traffic of Ringling Bridge. After getting the bench he promised his wife, he hired landscapers, remodeled the bathrooms, and built more benches, investments costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. But for Worland, imagining his late wife's reaction makes it all worth it.
I think Eloise would have the biggest smile on her face that you can imagine. She'd be so happy.
She had a big soft heart for kids in public spaces and in family environments, and that is exactly what has happened here.
and I'm sure she's smiling broadly wherever she is.
The park, now Eloise Worland Park, gives Worland and his kids some closure.
Of course, we would love Eloise to be alive. That would be our first priority. But I believe that when we leave this park, we have memorialized a wonderful person.
Meningitis is a severe disease. At best, a patient needs to be treated at a hospital. At worst, a patient suffers permanent disabilities or is killed within a few hours. So after this email was sent to students saying that a case of meningitis appeared in an Elon student and several others have been placed on antibiotics out of caution, Medical Director of Student Health Services Jeanette Archinal wants things to be clear to students about the risk.
We use the example if you're on a plane. You would need to be sitting next to somebody in coach who is actively sick with meningitis or actively contagious for at least 8 hours to even be at risk of getting meningitis.
Archinal says the student's meningitis is bacterial and that the student's case is the only one reported in Alamance County, since meningitis is really only spread through saliva and the health center has already contacted students they've identified as being at risk. She says common hygiene will keep you safe.
Don't share lip balm, don't drink other people's drinks, don't eat off other people's food. You know, if you're sick, don't share saliva with your partner. It's that simple.
Archinal wrote the email to students and says she decided to pass it on not because of risk, but because she wants the health center to be direct.
There's a need to be transparent. There's a need to treat your campus community as adults and not hide things from people. And that's why the email was sent out.
While risk may be low for students, if you begin to experience symptoms of bacterial meningitis such as sudden fever, headache, and neck pain, Archinal says you should contact a physician right away. Elyaderani, ELN Morning.